Good morning and welcome to Washington Post Live. I'm Jackie Alemany, a congressional investigations reporter here at the Post. Joining me today to talk about leveling the playing field for female hockey players is Reagan Carey, the commissioner of the Premier Hockey Federation. Commissioner Carey, welcome to Washington Post Live.
Thank you. Thanks for that lead in too. I'm pumped up. It's like game day. That was great.
So I want to get right into it. The league and issues of pay. Your federation increased the salary cap to $1.5 million per team for the 2023-2024 season. It's double the current cap of $750,000 and a 900% increase since the 2021-2022 season. Can you translate exactly what these numbers mean for us?
Yeah, we're really proud of the advancements we've made in a short amount of time, and it's just thanks to every single person, whether it's a player on the ice, the support staff, the ownership, investors. It just reflects how much confidence and support we have at the PHF to make sure that we're making these strides. And we're largely an impatient group. We want to see the future here faster, and we have the right team around us to do that. So to be able to be one of the smaller but emerging and thriving leagues for women's sports in the professional realm, to be leading in a salary cap is something we're really proud of, and hopefully an indicator of where we're headed.
Can you say categorically that the growing interest and appetite for women's professional hockey is matching that increase in salary cap?
Yeah, absolutely. And in a lot of ways, you have to, set the vision, I think, for everybody, and make sure that it isn't a storyline again that is all these years in the future. We need to make that strong stance, and we have the right support and right people that believe in it. And the reason we were able to make that jump was, the last 18 months, and particularly the last season, we used this as a proving ground, and really testing what we can do if we harness all the right people. We've changed our leadership at the front office, at the league level. We've got many architects of the game that are part of the vision and what we have put together here. So when you see all that in action, I think it gives a lot more confidence to our partners, our investors, and our board of governors to say we're ready to do this, and we can do it now. So yeah, we've got to put the expectations out there, but we've been really pleased to see everybody rallying around and supporting. And the incoming calls that we have are drastically different in the last 6 months than they were prior to that. So we're on the right track.
And as I'm sure you're well aware, one of the arguments of why women's hockey isn't highly profitable is because people don't want to watch it. Is that true? And how do you change the appetite so that more people at least, do want to watch it?
Oh, I think we've proven a lot of people want to watch it. If you look at the viewership in the Olympic Games, millions of people are tuning in to watch the best of women's hockey. And in large part, over the years, we haven't had the opportunity to see women's hockey. So it's not about whether they want to watch it. They haven't had a chance to watch it consistently. So our partnership with ESPN, being a 2-year partnership, and their belief in that people do want to watch it, being able to watch professional women's ice hockey in the PHF all season long, that's another trailblazing moment for sport, something that hasn't been done before. So now you're able to fill in the big gaps of those big Olympic moments and some of the world championships. And I have a feeling we'll be proving that statement quite wrong.
And why do you think hockey is less popular in North America than it is in other parts of the world?
I wouldn't say that it is on the women's side, for sure. If you look at 1998 Olympic Games, from that point on, the growth that we've seen in women's sports. And again, it goes back to that exposure. Once people see it and once everybody has a chance to really engage with those players and the storylines and just the skill of those athletes, it really propels everything forward much faster. So 1998, I think there's about 14 Division I teams, and now you have over 40 going on in the U.S. and obviously Canada. It's always been a thriving sport. So I think the popularity, particularly on the women's game, is strong in North America.
And the average salary for an NHL player is roughly around $3.5 million a year. And the average professional women's hockey player would make around $150,000 a year. In your view, what are the major factors then contributing to this disparity?
Well, we're at the infancy of our sport. As mentioned, the Olympics were the first time in 1998 for women's ice hockey, and we're really not that far off from if you look at the pace at which we've grown. I think we're probably outpacing a lot of the men's leagues over the years, and it's just a matter of continuing to improve things. We're focused on what we can control. We're focused on what we're building, and we're focused on doing it quickly, but in a sustainable, responsible way. So, we'll get there, and we just have to keep demonstrating and showing everybody what a great sport it is to watch. I think, particularly in ice hockey, the women's game is something that, whether you're a fan of the NHL or have a chance to watch women's hockey, anybody that I've had the opportunity to work with, especially NHL players and coaches that come work with the women's game, really love this style of sport. It's a fast-paced part of the sport. It's a lot of passing, a lot of teamwork, and it's a bit of the best of the best when you watch women's hockey. So I think we'll get there pretty quickly.
In terms of specifics, though, when it comes to what you just called improvements that can be made, what exactly needs to be done to get female athletes on that path towards equal pay?
It just takes everybody committed. I think in the history of women's sports, female athletes have always had to do more. They've always had to be more than just an athlete. And, at some point, we hope that isn't the case, but everybody's had to contribute to promoting the game, promoting these players that are so talented and skilled. And it requires investors, it requires sponsorship, it requires the right partners that are in it for the long haul. And I think what's special, and you're seeing, everybody talks about this moment in women's sports, and I think we've accurately reframed that to be a movement, but a movement that started a long time ago. And we are responsible to keep that moving in a way that make sure we're aligning with people that understand this is a long journey that we're in, and not just a flash in the pan.
And you have previously said that you wanted to deepen the federation's relationship with the NHL. What exactly does this look like in your ideal state?
Well, I think a lot of people compare us to the WNBA and having that model in place, and that made a lot of sense at the time for the WNBA and the NBA to team up. I certainly believe that women's hockey at the professional level and men's hockey at the professional level should be teammates and supportive of each other. And working with the NHL certainly provides a lot of resources and support, and they already do that. So to be able to continue to augment that as we grow, and their support to grow with us, I don't think it necessarily has to reflect the exact model of, a women's version of the NHL, but I do know that it's a small sport in the sense that the community is, always working together and supporting each other. So the more we can do that, the better, and expose the sport to, an audience and a fan base that love the sport.
Can women's hockey become as popular as men's hockey?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't imagine why not. As we get these, new opportunities with our media rights and the continued exposure, it's not a lack of the sport being where it needs to be. It's not a lack of these talented athletes. It's just a lack of exposure and awareness, and growing that fan base. So I have no doubt that it can be.
And you lost a handful of your star athletes in 2019 over boycotts tied to the lack of health insurance and low salaries. You now have better health options for players and have a higher pay cap, as we just covered. Do you think this has incentivized some of these athletes to return to the league?
Yeah, we've seen that in the last year, and even our front office is made up of a lot of those players that were part of that, decision to move and try and augment that in other ways. This league has been built on a strong vision of being a trailblazer. They're the first to pay players. It wasn't enough at the time, but they were the first to do it. So, they put a new stake in the ground to say that these players matter. And obviously there's some bumps along the road with any startup and new league. But I think where we are now is strongly that new era phase for this league, and being able to increase the salary cap, make sure that we're providing, significant medical benefits to our players, and having the broadcast support that we have, and just really listening to the players, being transparent. As I said before, in women's sports, athletes have had to do so much more than just be elite athletes. And listening to the players and all of us being part of this movement within the PHF and building this new era is important and essential to our success.
And I want to pivot a bit to sort of an international matter. The PHF has been largely silent on the war in Russia, but the chairman of the board and majority owner is also one of the chairs of, is the chairman of Yandex, one of Russia's largest tech companies. How has the war in Ukraine impacted the PHF?
I think for us, we're a very thriving global game. We're a thriving global league. We have, we've doubled the number of international players we have in the PHF, and our leadership has been very involved in the global game and building that. So, we're very aware of the impact, and even at the Olympic level, how those global issues and concerns impact sport. But we hope to continue to be a beacon and demonstrate, that global ability to work together and to really just support each other. So we continue to focus on what we can do for these players and building the best home for women's hockey. And again, that includes everybody around the globe.
Is the league planning on responding to John Boynton's connections to the ongoing war? For example, the NHL cut ties with Yandex and Russia business partners last year when the war broke out.
Yeah, I think we've responded to that. I'll let John respond to those inquiries. And it's directly related to him as it pertains to ownership and investment of the PHF. It's not directly involved with us, so I can't speak to that. But I think we've answered that question several times, or he has.
And lastly, I'm just wondering how the war has affected and shaped the league's view of the intersection of athletics and diplomacy.
As I just said, I think we're committed to making sure that we're a beacon of opportunity for young female athletes and to make sure that we're the best home for it. So again, making sure that we recognize, I think the PHF has put a ton of effort in the last 18 months into being much more of a global game and recognizing the importance of that and just how much it influences our culture and our ability to bring a lot of different backgrounds together as it's done in the NCAA, as well as the opportunities they have at the Olympics to really learn and grow together. So I think we do that really well, and we're really proud of it.
And I want to get back to now more league specifics. You've had direct competition with the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, which has teamed with NHL franchises and investors to form its own league. What do you think the player experience at the PHF sets it different from this competition?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're in competition. I think we're all in support of the same direction, and we're all championing, the platform to make sure that women's hockey has a space in women's professional sports, and everybody's working towards a similar goal. So I would hesitate to say we're in competition, and I think that we're all working with NHL teams, and we're all collaborating. As I said before, it's a community of a lot of supportive people, and making sure that we can just lift the sport up, and particularly with PHF, we had some great neutral site games, and even our Isabel Cup at the end of the season was done in Arizona with the NHL team, the Coyotes there. So, I think everybody's supportive and, looking to raise the level of the sport. So, all these athletes have played together. They played on national teams together. They played on college teams together, and everybody's got the same goal in mind.
Do you think having two independent leagues is going to drive more interest in professional women's hockey, or do you think that the two entities should potentially join forces?
Yeah, I think our door's always been open to that. I think it's always better to work together in collaboration. My leadership style is certainly, working with everyone and bringing everyone under the same roof. But at the same time, I think the competitiveness that can come with, 1, 2, 3 different entities. We've got European leagues as well that players have the opportunity. I think the more options players have, the more it drives everybody to be even better. So I know we take that seriously and making sure again that we're that leading and best home for women's professional ice hockey.
And you're going to be adding a 7th team to the roster in the league. What are the conversations now that are happening to grow the league further? And will any more teams be added? Can you lay out a growth timeline for us?
Yeah, we added Montreal in this past season, so that was our seventh team and our second in Canada. And I think it just demonstrates, having the right people. It takes a lot of work to get an expansion team up and running and to do very well, and they did just that. It just demonstrates the heart and hustle we have within the PHF, and we certainly are getting, as I mentioned at the beginning, a lot more interest in wanting expansion and investors calling into the PHF to see what they can do to be part of this journey with us. So certainly we're going to make sure we're growing in a responsible and sustainable way, but we're entertaining and evaluating all those things as we speak in the off season.
And I'm wondering if you could just make the case more broadly about why now is a good time to invest in women's professional hockey. The Canadian Women's Hockey League sank in 2019 because of a lack of funding. So, what kinds of investments does the Federation need in order to grow the sport?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that and making sure we're with, again, the right people and the people that understand that they can have an immediate impact. This is people that are aligning because they believe in it, but also they want to see positive change and see that happen quickly. So we've got great sponsors. Discover really wants to listen to what do we need and how can we help. And we've got all the relationships we have from a sponsorship and investor standpoint are people that are calling and say, how can we help and what can we do? And that helps drive us forward even faster. So, the CWHL that you mentioned, I think all of those we look upon as somewhat positive, parts of the journey. This is a long journey, as I said. It's a long movement, and everybody's contributed to it. So I give the CWHL a lot of credit for, the ability for us to do what we're doing now.
And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the work that the Federation's doing to encourage young women and try to grow interest in playing professional hockey, what recruitment efforts are looking like, and how you're engaging with the younger generation and inspiring them to pursue an athletic career.
Well, again, the broadcast watch women's hockey on the weekend when they're not playing the game, and to have those crossover moments working with the NHL, and for young aspiring athletes to see these women performing and out there and just being elite athletes is inspiring to young girls and boys. So that exposure is really essential to it, but also our ability to really engage with our fan base, and whether that's autograph sessions or clinics, and just really generating that interest in our local markets is something we've seen a lot of success in, and a lot of young girls getting into the sport and working with Hockey Canada and USA Hockey and the IHF and all the grassroots work that they do. Again, it's a community effort, and we all have to integrate and work together for that.
And 10 years from now, what are your expectations for the Federation? What is the league going to look like at that point in time?
Well, it'll be thriving, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. It's going to be hard to answer that question, given that how much has changed even in the last 2 years, let alone the last 5-7 years with this league. So I know it's going to be strong. It's going to be, something that's expanded and something that the fan base has grown quite a bit. And I don't want to put a cap on that. So I'm excited to see how much we can do in that span of time.
And I want to touch a little bit on your track record. You led 2 teams to Olympic medals in women's hockey and have also made strides in popularizing the sport in the U.S. Can you talk a little bit about the benchmarks that you're most proud of in women's hockey so far?
I'm just really proud to be part of this process. Hockey has given me a lot personally in my life as a athlete and a player through college, and the opportunity to continue working in the NHL and then USA Hockey with their national team and Olympic teams, and now on this new frontier with working with the PHF and building this new era for professional women's ice hockey. I'm really proud of just the accomplishments of the players and their dedication to making sure they drive the sport forward. There's been a lot of tough decisions for a lot of players, and as I keep harping on, they've had to do a lot more than be just athletes. So to be able to champion some of the initiatives that they feel strongly about, and I certainly support, having gone through it myself as a female player, it's meaningful to all of us, and we're all working towards making sure that some of the stories we all have are different than the next generation. So I'm really proud of the players and what they've accomplished, and being able to be part of that process with them.
And before we wrap, Commissioner, what else are you doing to enhance the player experience for PHF athletes?
Transparency is really important, I think, and that's something I believe in, and we've changed considerably over the last season, and making sure that we're sharing letting players have the autonomy to share salary, and their compensation with the league if they want to, being a part of our consistent town halls and providing access to provide feedback to better the league through various platforms, including Real Response, to make sure it's a positive and safe environment for our players. So I think it's really that transparency and listening, and we've made a lot of changes over the course of the season just based on their experience and what we can do.
And we're going to have to leave it there, Commissioner Carey, but thanks so much for joining us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for spotlighting the PHF and women's professional ice hockey.
And thanks to all of you for watching. I'm Jackie Alemany, and to find more about our upcoming programming, please head to WashingtonPostLive.com. Thanks again.